That was the subject line of the email. No greeting. No preamble. Just a forwarded confirmation from the bank and that single line beneath it. I read it twice. Then a third time. Kendra had transferred $587,000, money my Aunt Elaine left me in her will with one instruction: build something that will last. She was the only family I had left. She raised me. That inheritance wasn't just money. It was a legacy. And now it was gone. I didn't slam the laptop shut. I didn't shout. I just closed it slowly and stood up. Walked into the kitchen. Made tea. Sat on the back porch and listened to the wind move through the trees. Kendra was still at her weekend retreat, some made-up self-care getaway she suddenly needed every other month. I knew I should have felt something: a rage, heartbreak, betrayal. But all I felt was calm. Not the peaceful kind. The lethal kind. That night, I slept better than I had in months. In the morning, I started backing up files. That's the thing about betrayal: it's never sudden. It's always preceded by 100 small signs you chose to ignore. And I'd ignored every single one. 12 years of marriage. A house we designed together. A firm I helped her grow. And now she thought she could erase me with a single click. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I met Kendra at a design expo in Charleston. I was speaking on sustainable architecture. She was there helping run a booth for her employer at the time, some boutique real estate startup. She liked my voice. Said I sounded like someone who solved problems instead of creating them. Back then, that felt like a compliment. She moved in 6 weeks after our first date. We made it official in under a year. I was 32. She was 29. We had the same taste in interiors, in music, in wine. Or at least I thought we did. Looking back, I realize now she mirrored me. Carefully. Strategically. And I mistook that for compatibility. In our second year of marriage, I landed the Bayport Library project, the first major commission that pushed my firm into the black. We celebrated with champagne. She cried. We're finally building our life, she said. What she meant was, I'm finally close enough to the money. When Aunt Elaine passed, I broke down. She was my only real family. My rock. She left me the house in Bluffton and $587,000 in a dedicated trust account. The instructions were handwritten in her final letter. Use this to create something that will outlive you. Kendra told me to take time. Heal. Then she told me we should open a joint financial planning account to make things easier long-term. I didn't question it. I was grieving. And I trusted my wife. But now I realize she'd already started testing the waters. She suggested we switch banks. Said the old one had bad rates. She wanted power of attorney documents in case anything ever happened. She was always smiling. Always gentle. I was blind. Until now. That night, after Kendra's email about the inheritance, I logged into every account we shared. The joint checking, once our shared financial pulse, was nearly empty. What should have had over $200,000 held just under $26,000. The savings account we built together bled dry. Transactions going back 18 months. Steady, calculated withdrawals. $5,000 here. $9,000 there. Enough to not trigger alarm bells. But in total? $178,000 gone. Each transaction routed through a regional credit union I'd never seen before. Not our bank. Not our accountants. A different one in her name only. She hadn't drained us in a day. She'd done it methodically. While we laughed. While we slept. While I designed the future of our firm, the one she co-managed by title only but barely showed up to in the last year. I started combing through emails. Travel receipts. Credit card statements. A pattern emerged. Atlanta. Always Atlanta. Hotel stays booked under aliases. Uber rides at 2 a.m. Spa charges. 2 tickets to yoga retreats in Buckhead. It didn't take long to find him. His name was Connor. Mid-40s. Taught yoga and financial consciousness seminars. Former investment banker turned spiritual advisor. The kind of guy who wore linen pants and quoted The Art of War without irony. They met during one of her wellness intensives. According to Instagram, his, not hers, they'd been photographed together at events dating back 6 months. She hadn't hidden it. She just never thought I'd look. But I wasn't angry. I was quiet. I was focused. And I was just getting started. The morning after I uncovered the money trail, I called Grant Holloway, estate attorney, Harvard grad, discreet. I told him what had happened. He listened without interrupting, then asked one question. Do you have documentation? I smiled. More than enough. I spent the rest of the day collecting. Bank statements. Password logs. Screenshots of transfers. Email headers. Timestamps. A photo of the inheritance confirmation email she sent, the one that started it all. Then I hired a second attorney, Amanda Voss. She specialized in asset protection and forensic financial tracing. Aggressive, brilliant, and just the right amount of cold. Between the two of them, I had both the sword and the shield. Amanda's team pulled credit reports. Found the secret apartment indicator. Lease signed in Kendra's name 4 months ago. Fully furnished. Paid 6 months in advance. Her name wasn't on our home's mortgage, but she was preparing for a separate life, one I clearly wasn't meant to be part of. The best part? I wasn't on the lease, but she'd used our joint business as proof of income. A mistake. She thought she could run. Start over. Take the money and vanish into her new identity. Instead, she left a trail so clean I could have followed it in the dark. By Friday, we had everything. My lawyers asked if I wanted to confront her. No, I said. I want her to think I haven't noticed. Because silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. And I wasn't done watching yet. It was a Tuesday night. She walked in like nothing had happened. Hair curled. Nails fresh. Designer bag slung over one shoulder like a casual trophy. I was thinking takeout tonight, she said, dropping her keys in the bowl by the door. Thai or sushi? I looked up from my laptop. Closed it. Whatever you want. She paused just for a second, like she sensed something off. Then smiled and kissed the top of my head like I was her elderly uncle, not her husband of 12 years. I'll order Thai. As she disappeared into the kitchen, I watched her. Every movement rehearsed. She thought she was winning. Thought she'd pulled off the perfect quiet theft. She didn't know I already had her lease agreement. Her bank logs. Screenshots of texts between her and Connor, sweet nothings and Venmo requests for organic almond butter. I'd printed out everything. Labeled and dated. Tucked neatly into a binder I kept in my desk drawer, the one with a lock she didn't know existed. She was planning her exit. But she had no idea I'd already blocked it. The next morning, I met Amanda at her office. She slid a manila folder across the table. We pulled IP logs from your joint account. The transfers were made from her laptop from your house while you were in client meetings. We have timestamps, metadata, and cross-device evidence. It's airtight. Good, I said. Do you want to go nuclear now? Not yet. Because I knew Kendra. She wasn't just after the money. She wanted the clean escape. And I wasn't going to give it to her. I was going to give her exactly what she deserved. But only when it mattered most. The legal letter arrived Thursday morning. Certified. Kendra had officially retained counsel. A firm out of Atlanta. Flashy branding. A senior partner named Brent Whitmore who apparently specialized in high-asset divorce representation. Cute. I scanned the letter slowly. Lots of legal posturing. Demands for equitable division. Language about contributions to lifestyle, emotional investment, and my favorite, indirect support in the accumulation of inheritance wealth. There it was. The angle. She was going to argue that her existence in my life gave her some legal claim to Elaine's inheritance. The money that was locked in my name bequeathed solely to me with one purpose. They didn't realize how specific Elaine's trust was. They didn't realize how specific I had been in securing it. I called Amanda. I want to respond, I said. But not aggressively. How do you want to play it? Send them a single page. She paused. Which one? Page 1. Page 1 showed the bank transfer log. Kendra's name. Her IP address. Date. Time. The title of the account she moved the funds to, Kendra Hartley Personal, not joint. Amanda grinned. We sent it over that afternoon. No commentary. No threat. Just a subject line that read, in response to your client's claim of equitable entitlement. Within 24 hours, Brent called. I think we may have misunderstood some financial details, he said, voice a little too smooth. Understandable, I replied. Perhaps we can arrange a conversation. Privately. No courts. I said I'd think about it. I wouldn't. Because I wasn't finished yet. And Kendra hadn't even seen the trap she'd walked into. She told me Friday morning, all sunshine and softness. I booked us a cabin outside Asheville. Just 2 nights. No distractions. I think we need this. Her voice was syrupy. Her eyes calculating. I could see it clear as glass. She thought she could win me back with proximity. Maybe get me to lower my guard. Maybe trick me into a casual conversation where I'd admit something or agree to rewrite part of the trust. She was pivoting. Adjusting strategy. But I didn't push back. I told her it sounded perfect. I even helped her pack. Put her favorite wine in the cooler. Picked out the playlist she always chose for long drives. Saturday morning, I loaded the bags into the car while she double-checked her makeup in the hallway mirror. Thanks for being open to this, she said, stepping outside. I kissed her on the forehead. Let's have a good weekend. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I watched her drive away, watched her taillights disappear down the street. And then I walked back inside, sat down at my desk, and opened the file labeled Execution. That weekend wasn't for reconciliation. It was cover. Because Monday morning, my attorneys would file a cease and desist for unauthorized use of jointly held business funds, including a forensic breakdown of her misappropriation and a motion to freeze all shared accounts. She'd come back to a locked financial world. And more importantly, to a subpoena. Not for divorce. Not yet. First came the financial reckoning. Then the rest. Sunday night, around 9:30, I heard the garage door open. She came in carrying leftovers and tension. Tried to play it cool. Traffic was brutal, she said, kicking off her shoes. I brought that figango cheese thing you like. I nodded. Thanks. She didn't ask why I didn't go. She already knew. Monday morning, the storm hit. First, the email from her personal banker, subject line, urgent, account access issue. Then another from our shared business platform, primary login disabled. Please contact administrator. I didn't disable them. Amanda's team did legally, surgically, and with notarized documentation. By noon, I had 2 voicemails. One from Kendra. One from Brent Whitmore. She sounded panicked. Miles, I can't log into anything. Not the business account, not my credit union. Can you call me? No. Because the motion had already been filed. We submitted over 400 pages of evidence, including detailed financial transactions with her signature, lease agreements in her name, affidavits from our CPA verifying the unauthorized withdrawals, a notarized letter from Aunt Elaine's trust attorney confirming the inheritance was protected by an individual use clause. She was about to find out what it felt like to be excluded. Legally. Precisely. Without shouting. Brent left a second message. Miles, let's not escalate this. There's no need to involve courts or law enforcement. I think we can find a mutual resolution. I didn't respond. Because there was nothing mutual left. And escalation? That was already in motion. The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday morning. Neutral ground. A third-party mediator's office in downtown Savannah. Modern, cold, expensive like Brent's suit. He was already seated when I arrived. Alone. Kendra was running late. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I placed the binder on the table, opened it to the section labeled Fraudulent Activity, and slid it forward. He didn't touch it at first. Just stared at the cover like it might detonate. When he finally flipped it open, his expression changed within 60 seconds. There's a lot here, he said. There's more, I said. That's just what I'm legally required to show at this stage. He cleared his throat. If your intention is to file criminal charges, my intention is to enforce the trust, to protect the inheritance. The rest is up to the DA. Silence. Then he said it. The line I'd been waiting for. Would you be open to a private resolution outside of court? I leaned back. That depends. Full financial restitution. Renunciation of any claim to the inheritance. A signed NDA. And I want her removed from the business entirely, name, equity, access. That's aggressive, he said. No, I replied. It's generous. He didn't argue. Kendra never showed. Later that afternoon, he called to say she'd agreed in principle but had emotional concerns. I told him she could cry into her silk pillowcase. The terms stood. The deal was coming. And Kendra was starting to feel what it meant to lose, not in court, not in tabloids, but in silence. Friday morning, I got the text. From her personal number, not her lawyer. Miles, can we please talk? Just us. This doesn't feel fair. Fair. The woman who drained $178,000 from our joint account and tried to rewire a $500,000 inheritance into her own pocket was asking for fairness. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another message. I never meant to hurt you. We just drifted. Can't we come to something that feels more balanced? I forwarded her message to Amanda and waited. 30 minutes later, we sent back a single image, the lease agreement for her secret apartment. Full color. Her signature. Time of signing. The digital trail proving it was executed from our marital home's IP address. While I was in a meeting she had scheduled on my calendar. No reply. Hours passed. By sunset, Brent emailed a revised agreement. Kendra would return $92,000 in liquid funds within 30 days. She would waive all claims to the remaining inheritance and trust. She would dissolve her shares in the business. She would sign a non-disclosure agreement. She would walk away with no public mess, no criminal charges, and just enough dignity to rebuild somewhere else. I signed it. She did too, eventually. I didn't even show up for the final meeting. Amanda handled the paperwork. I had nothing left to say. Not to her. Not anymore. Because real revenge doesn't need a monologue. It just needs documentation. We met at the law office for the final handoff. Kendra walked in looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Hair pinned back too tightly. Eyes swollen. Designer blazer wrinkled at the sleeves like she'd been sleeping in her car or just hadn't slept at all. Brent spoke first. My client is prepared to honor the terms. I didn't respond. I just watched. Kendra reached into her purse and pulled out a white envelope. Sealed. Heavy. She placed it on the table between us. This is what you wanted, she said quietly. No venom. No theatrics. Just exhaustion. I didn't move. Amanda took the envelope and opened it slowly. Inside, a cashier's check for $92,000 and a signed release of claim on the trust, notarized. We nodded. Amanda slid Kendra the NDA. She signed it without reading. Brent took it, folded it once, and tucked it into his briefcase. It's done, he said. Kendra stood as if expecting me to follow. Or speak. Or offer something, anything. I didn't. She hesitated. Then finally, was I really that bad? I looked at her. The woman I once built a life with. The woman who turned my trust into a transaction. No, I said. You were just that obvious. She blinked but said nothing. And then she left. No hug. No handshake. No parting shot. Just silence. I walked out the back door of the office and into the daylight. Free. Clear. And absolutely done. I didn't cash it. The $92,000 check Kendra slid across the table sat untouched for 2 days. Then I drove it down to the bank, deposited it into the inheritance trust Elaine had set up and requested a high-resolution copy. 2 weeks later, I had it framed. Mahogany wood. Museum glass. It hangs in my home office, just above the drawer where I used to keep all the documents that proved who Kendra really was. People ask what it is. I tell them it's proof that silence isn't surrender. That same week, I filed the paperwork for something new, the Elaine Foundation. A nonprofit dedicated to supporting children who've lost their parents, just like I had. Full scholarships for aspiring designers, engineers, architects. Kids who want to build things that last. The first grant recipient was a 17-year-old girl named Talia. Lost both parents in a fire. Wants to become an architect focused on therapeutic spaces for trauma survivors. When I handed her the award letter, she cried. Said she finally felt like someone believed in her future. I thought of Elaine. I thought of what that inheritance was meant to be. Not a number in a bank. Not a bargaining chip. A legacy. And now it finally was. It was 6 months later. I was meeting a donor at a small farm-to-table spot near Forsyth Park. Place had good wine, soft jazz, and overpriced flatbread. The hostess led me to a booth by the window. As I sat down, a waitress approached. Blonde hair. Nervous smile. Slight limp in her left step from the heels she never used to wear. It was Kendra. She saw me. Paused. Swallowed whatever pride she still had and said, "Can I get you started with something to drink?" Her voice was quieter now. I didn't flinch. Didn't smile. Didn't gloat. "Sparkling water," I said. "That's all." She nodded. Coming right up. No mention of her past. No attempt at small talk. No fake apology. She returned with the water, placed it gently on the coaster, and left. That was it. I never saw her again. I paid the bill in cash. Left a generous tip. But not for her. For the busboy. The one doing honest work without pretending to be more than he was. When I stepped outside, the sky was gold. Quiet. Full of clean light. I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. And that was better. People asked, of course. Friends. Colleagues. Some with real concern, others with thinly veiled curiosity. What happened with Kendra? I always gave the same answer. It just didn't work out. And that was enough. Because by then, the whispers had already started. About the frozen accounts. About the firm restructuring. About a non-disclosure agreement no one could get details on. Kendra vanished from every professional circle we once moved in. Her name disappeared from the business registry. Her social media accounts went dark. And I never explained. That was the beauty of it. When you don't scream, when you don't broadcast your pain, people fill in the blanks themselves. And they always assume worse than the truth. The architect side worked with for years stayed loyal. The clients? Doubled down. One even said, "Whatever happened there, I respect how you handled it." I just nodded. I wasn't interested in retelling a betrayal. I was building something now. Not from rage. Not from spite. From clarity. From freedom. From the quiet knowledge that I'd already won and didn't need to prove it. The Elaine Foundation opened its doors on October 1st, same day Elaine passed, 5 years earlier. We started small, 3 scholarship recipients. All orphans. All with vision. Talia, the girl who wanted to design healing spaces, became our first. Her final essay ended with the words, "I want to create something that holds people when the world doesn't." I framed that too. I think Elaine would have liked her. The foundation's offices sit in a restored brick building downtown, the same one Kendra once mocked as too industrial for a design firm. Now it's a space filled with purpose. Clean lines. Open light. And not a single wasted corner. People assume revenge needs to be loud. That it's some grand gesture. A takedown. A scandal. But real revenge? It's building the life they said you'd never have without them. It's the moment you realize you've rebuilt from ashes while they're still sweeping up glass. Last I heard, Kendra left Georgia. No forwarding address. No new job. Brent withdrew as her attorney shortly after the settlement. Quiet exits all around. I never spoke her name again. Not because I was afraid of it. Because it didn't matter anymore. This is the part no one tells you. The best revenge isn't what you take back. It's what they never get to touch again.